everyone, welcome to Kenyan Fashion Academy. I'm Charity Eze, lead tutor at Kenyan Fashion Academy. So in this very class, we're going to be looking at the human body structure and want to analyze it to see how it affects our drafts and making a well-fitting garment. Because we all know that we all have unique structures. We do not have exactly the same shape. We have different shapes, and the way our shapes differ, that is the way our garments, our patterns for our garments, and then the garment itself or the garments themselves differ also. So when we look at the human body, we see that there are various parts of the human body. Basically, the human body is divided into about 5 regions. We have the head, we have the neck region, we have the torso or the trunk, which is from the neck region around towards to the down to the pelvis region, and then we have the upper limbs and lower limbs. The upper limbs basically consist of the shoulder area, the hands, that's the arm, the elbow, and all of that, while the lower limbs consist of the thigh area, which is also around the hip, the knee, the elbow, and downwards. So those areas make up the lower limbs. Now, going further to analyze the human body structure, there are certain features that are very glaring, that are very more pronounced, as you can see from the human body. So the first thing we want to look at is that our shoulders are not the same. Our shoulders are not straight, rather our shoulders are not straight. So if you look at the shoulder, you see that it slants downwards towards the elbow, the shoulder region. If I'm to place this like this, if I'm to place it straight like this, you can see that there is a space here. So there's a space here. There's a space here. I'm placing this straight now. You see that there's a space here. So that is why on our pattern, we normally take our shoulder slant or shoulder slope. Normally subtract from above the shoulder and the pattern to get this slope so that it can lay flat on the shoulder area. Another point is that our front neck line, our front neck depth is a bit lower than the back neck depth. If you look at the front now, you see this is our neck depth from the front, and then this is the back. This is the neck depth for the back. You see that the back tends to go higher. That's for the neck, the back depth of the neckline, and the front tends to be lower. I don't know if you can see. So you see that here is a bit down low. The neckline for the front, the neck depth for the front is a bit lower than what we have at the back. You see how the back is. So that is why most times, on average, you have that the neck depth for the front is 3 inches and the back is 1 inch. That's the basic neck depth. Even though it is not exact for everybody, especially the front is not exact 3 inches. That's why I said on average. So some persons can have theirs as 3.5, some can have theirs as less than 3, depending on their overall makeup, how full this area is, the fullness of the bust, and all of that. So the next thing we are going to take note of is the fact that the front length of the body is usually longer or more than the back length. What do we mean by the back length? It's what we usually call the half length. That is from our shoulder to the waist length. So the shoulder to the waist length. For her, what we have here is 16 inches from her shoulder to the waist length. So, but if we take the back measurement, which we usually take from this region, we call it the nape, to this part, you will see that we are having about 14.75 as against the 16 inches we had for the front. So we are having 14.75 for her. Yeah, almost 15 inches. So you can take 14 or 15 inches for her, 14.75 or 15 inches for her, as against the 16 inches we have for the front. This is because the front has the bust, which protrudes more, but the back is more like flat. You see that there's nothing here. So there's no protrusion from the back, but for the front, that's for the upper bodies now, for the torso, the front bust, it's more than the back. So that front tends to take up more measurements than the back. So that is why when we are taking when we draft our patterns, we do not take our front length and our half length to be the same. Usually the front is usually more. It could be by 1 inch, it could be by 2 inches, it could even be as much as 4 inches or 5 inches. Yes, there are people that are extremely full on the bust. So it is just you who will have to take your measurement. And when you want to take your measurement, please be sure to get your natural waistline first of all by asking your client to tilt to one side. So as she tilts, you will see this region going inwards. I don't know if you can see it from the camera. You see this region going inwards. That is her true waistline. So when you have gotten that part, you get a rope, it could be a bias or anything, and tie around that point to, so that it will be fixed. It will not be moving up and down. So you take from your shoulder to that point. That gives you your front length. Then you take also from the nape to waist. You take also from here to give you your back length. Can you see it? So when we compare her own front length and back length, you can see that the difference is about 1 inch or 1.25, depending on the value you want to use. So that tells us that the front measurement and the back measurement are not the same. For some persons like mine, it's a difference of 2 inches. So for some persons, they can have more or lesser values or lesser difference between these values. And the difference is based on your bust circumference, how busty you are, not necessarily the size. She might be smaller than me, but if she has a bigger bust here, then she would have her front length. The difference between her front length and my back length would be more than my own, even though I look a bit bigger than her. So that's the important point you have to note about the human structure, and that is that our front bust is usually bigger than our back bust in terms of circumference. So if I measure around the body, around the bust like so, if I measure around the bust like so, I am having about 36 inches for her as her bust measurement. I'm having about 36 to 8. Yes. I'm having 36 to 8. That's 36.25 as her bust measurement. Now, this 36.25, we are not meant to divide it equally on our pattern, because if you look, you will see that the bust is fuller at the front. So with this dress she's wearing, it is easy for us to do this analysis because this is a very stretchy fabric, and this dress, when she wears it, the dress adjusts itself on her. So when we go ahead to use the seam line on this dress now, we'll be able to understand better what you are saying. So now I have measured around her body and I'm getting her bust and I'm getting 36.5. If I go from this seam line now, there's a seam line here. So like I said, this dress has adjusted itself the way it should be because the fabric is stretched. So when you wear it, it balances up the way it wants, following the structure of the person who is wearing the dress. So if I'm to measure from this side seam, towards this to this other side seam, you will see that I am having about 20 inches for my front arc. This is what we call front bust arc. That is from under the armhole on this point to this part under the armhole. That's on the side seam on both sides. I'm having about 19.5 inches for her. Then when I turn to the back, I'm having about 16.75. So I have 16.75 at the back. And we had, that means we are having about okay, this is 19.5. So 19.5 plus 16.5. Okay, we have 19.5 and then 16.5. So when you add it up, you're having around 36 inches, which is giving us, what we got initially, which is 36.25. So that is why we do not share our bust measurements equally between the front and the back, because the front usually take more measurements than that of the back. Now, having said that, we'll proceed to the waist. So our waist is giving us 28 inches, 0.5. That is 28.5 inches. That is what we have here. So if I follow the same method and measure from this side seam to this other side seam, I am going to be getting, I'm getting 14.5 here. So I'm getting 14.5 here. And I'm getting, for the back, I am getting 14. So I got 14 for the back, and for the front I got 14.5, which is giving us 28.5. So you see that the front is slightly more than the back by half an inch. So, but because the difference is not much, we still go ahead to divide the waist equally most times. So, and the different, why it is like that is because there is the stomach, that's the belly on the front, pushes out a bit, unlike the back. So the front waist is slightly more than the back, but we still go ahead to divide equally because the difference is not much. Now we'll move down to the hip. So when I measure around her hip, I'm getting 40 inches here for her hip. So if I go ahead and measure the front hip arc, I am getting about 19.25. I'm getting about 19.25 for our front hip arc. Then when I measure the back hip arc, so I'm getting about 20.75 here for the back hip arc, 20.75. While for the front, I got 19.25. So 19.25 and 20.75 is giving us the total sum of 40 inches, which is her hip circumference. So you can see that for the back, the back hip is more protruded than the front hip. So that is why when we are drafting our pattern, we tend to give more to the back than to the front. Now, in as much as we have seen that all these measurements, especially the bust and the hip, tend not to be equal, for some persons, especially those adolescents and those that are not really, that doesn't really have much shape like that, if you divide, you can still go ahead and divide equally for those ones, because the difference they may have is not really much. So for this journey, there's a table proportion that is going to guide us to know how we are going to factor in these differences in bust, waist, and hip on our patterns, for the various amount of differences, like when you have a difference of 3 inches, a difference of 5 inches, and so on. And so another thing I want to also mention is that these 3 measurements are the most important measurements that we need in dressmaking. The bust, the waist, the hip. Another very important measurement is the shoulder. So with these very 4 measurements, if you're able to get these 4 measurements of your clients wherever they are, even if they are not close by, it will be easy for you to be able to arrive at other measurements of the clients. Then you can make an outfit for the client and it will still fit very well. So imagine you have a client from anywhere, not close to you, maybe another state or another country. You can ask the client to send in their shoulder measurements, send in their bust measurement, their waist and hip measurements, and on your own you'll be able to determine their cross chest or their front width, their back width, their even you can even determine their half length and every other measurement, and you make outfits for them that will fit very well, especially an outfit that doesn't need much contouring. So, but in as much as that is important, that can be achieved, it's always very important to take your measurements directly on your client, as every one of us have our own unique measurements. For example, like I said earlier, she might be bust 36. She is bust 36 and I'm bust 37. So let's say she's bust 36 and I am bust 40. If her waist is 28 and my waist is 34, it means that 40 minus 34, I am having 6. But she's having 36 minus 28. She's going to have 8 inches difference. It means that she's busty. She's more busty than I am, because the difference between her bust and her waist is giving 8 inches, but the difference between my own bust and my waist is giving 6 inches. So for you to know how busty, it is going to be based on the difference, the amount of difference between the waist circumference and the bust circumference and the waist circumference. Then if you are talking about the lower part of the garment, like you're making a skirt, then how shapy the person is, how much shape the person has, or how much curve the person has to be between the waist measurement and the hip measurement. So if her waist measurement is 28 and her hip measurement is 40, and my waist measurement is, let's say my waist measurement is 34 and my hip measurement is 40, you still agree with me that she has more curves than me, because the difference between her waist and her hip, that is 40 and 28, is 12 inches, while mine 34 and 40 is going to be 6 inches. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So that is it. So with these measurements, you'll be able to draft your pattern in such a way that it will fit, and then when you transfer to fabric and make your garment, you have a well-fitting garment. Now another thing we'll understand, what I want to point out, another point I want to make is that the human body is symmetrical in nature. It means that if we are to divide these parts into 2 equal parts, if we are to divide this part into the front into 2 equal parts, what we have on this side of the front is same as what we have on this other side of the front. And that is why what we call in physics, we say that this part is the mirror image of this part. It means that what you have here is exactly what you have on this side. So you have one part of the bust here, you have one part of the bust here. This bone that is here, you have one here, we have one here. We have one thigh, we have one thigh, we have everything. We have one hand, we have one. So everything is divided equally. And this is the reason when we draft our pattern, we tend to draft half of the front and half of the back. So when we go ahead to draft our pattern, you see that when we are drafting, what we are drafting on our pattern is from here to this side for the front, and for the back we are drafting from here to this side, so that when we now want to cut on fabric, we'll cut on fold. So when you cut on fold and open up, you are going to have your full front. Then you cut your back on fold also and open up, you have your back. But then we add your zipper allowance because of ease of wearing. So, and exactly when we are making a symmetrical design, that is a design where everything looks same for the front and the back, we just use our the half of the front measurement. So we use it and then we transfer on fold. We transfer on fabric, folding our fabric, and we get our result. But when we are making an asymmetrical design where the design is not the same on both sides of the front, we now need to draft. We have to draft our pattern on the full, not on fold now, so that you open up and be able to do alter or modify your pattern. For example, if you have a neckline that goes this way, can you see? So this is coming down straight and it's going this way. So what we have here is not what we have here. So we are having more space here, but we do not have that space at this region. Can you see what we have here? Can you see what we have here? So this is an asymmetric design. So in this case, you have to draft your pattern on fold and open it up to be able to create this design that we have here. This one coming straight down and this one slanting towards this area. Just like, and the same thing with every other. Like if you want to make a monostrap, or you want to make one shoulder and one off shoulder dress, you take it this way. That's a monostrap. This side has a shoulder and this side is off shoulder. So maybe you are doing something like this from here, like this and like this. This is an off shoulder dress. So you see that what we have on this side is not what we have here. So this is an asymmetric design. So in that case, you have to use your front bodies on fold, so that when you open up, you'll be able to do all these alterations on it. So this is what we need to really understand about the human body structure, and when we do that, our drafts will come out better and then we'll have a better fit. Thank you very much for joining us on this class. Now we're going to go ahead into the main business, which is to draft our patterns And first of all, we're going to learn how to read our tape. Then we now go further to how to really take these measurements and the measurements that we need. And then we move over to drafting our patterns, and then continue to proceed to transfer our patterns to fabric and make a garment that will fit. Then we'll see how it's going to come out. Thank you so much. Please continue to join us on all our online classes, as this will help to better your fashion game. It will help you very much on your fashion journey. And trust us, we'll continue to give you the best and the best you can ever think of. Bye for now.